Although European explorers set up to discover the New World hundreds of years ago, there are corners in their home continent that are as mysterious today as they were then. Located in Eastern Europe, the country of Belarus has a long and rich, albeit tragic history. Here are some interesting facts about Belarus. The Bela in Belarus stands for white. Most etymologists believe the modern word Belarus to stem from Belarus, Belia meaning white. There are several accounts of the country being referred to as white. Why is not conclusively determined. Rus on the other hand stands for Ruthenia or Russia. Belarus shares land borders with 5 countries. Belarus is bordered by Russia to the east and northeast, 1,312 kilometers/815 miles, Ukraine to the south, 1,111 kilometers/690 miles, Poland to the west, 418 kilometers/260 miles, and Lithuania, 640 kilometers/398 miles, and Latvia, 161 kilometers/100 miles, to the northwest. Belarus is a landlocked country. Belarus claims the geographical midpoint of Europe. Many countries have claimed to have the geographical center of Europe, among them Belarus, based on a report by a group of Belarusian scientists. Located in the small town of Polotsk, even its locals take the claim with a grain of salt. Still, you can visit the monument and read the inscriptions in Swedish, Russian, Greek, English, and Belarusian. While you're in the area, you may want to visit Vilnius, Lithuania, which is presumably the more accurate center point of Europe. The highest peak in Belarus is Dzierżynsk Hill, reaching an elevation of 345 meters, 1,132 feet. Dzierżynsk Hill is the highest point in Belarus. Interestingly, it is named after Felix Dzerzhinsky, the founder of the KGB. In general, Belarus is a fairly flat country with an average elevation of only 160 meters, 525 feet, above sea level. Belarus has been part of many great empires. Belarus has a long and tragic history, with its lands being handed from one great power to another. In the early Middle Ages, it was part of the Kievan Rus, followed by the Polish, Lithuanian Commonwealth, and the Russian Empire. It experienced short-lived independence after World War I before it became part of the Republic of Central Lithuania and later was properly incorporated into Poland. As the Belarusian SSR, it was part of the USSR before finally gaining its independence in 1990. Belarus has the oldest existing government in exile. In 1917, Belarus was under German rule. That year, the Rada BNR was founded, which later declared itself supreme power in the Belarusian Democratic Republic. Germany did not recognize this newly created government, and negotiations with the advancing USSR were also unsuccessful. Eventually, the Rada moved to Vilnius in Lithuania and then to Hrodna, and finally to Kaunas. The current president resides in Canada. Although not officially recognized, it is considered the oldest existing government in exile. Belarus was the hardest-hit Soviet republic in World War II. Although much of the USSR suffered during World War II, Belarus was hit particularly hard. Germany destroyed 209 out of 290 cities in Belarus, 85% of the country's industry, and more than 1 million buildings. About 40% of Belarus is covered by forest. Belarus has one of the largest forest areas in Europe and covers about 40% of the country. Białowieża Forest at the Polish-Belarusian border is one of the last and largest remaining parts of Europe's primeval forests. It covers a total area of 1,418.85 square kilometers, 547.82 square miles. Lee Harvey Oswald lived in an apartment in Belarus. You may remember that Lee Harvey Oswald was a U.S. Marine who defected to the Soviet Union in 1959 before returning to his homeland a few years later, only to, allegedly, assassinate President John F. Kennedy. But did you know that Oswald was relocated by the Soviets from Moscow to Minsk? In his diary, Oswald described the city and his life in the Soviet Union as drab and uninspiring. Belarus is highly urbanized. In Belarus, approximately 80% of the population lives in cities, making it one of the most urbanized countries in Europe. The largest city and urban center is the country's capital, Minsk.